Hello dear students, welcome to the YouTube channel of CLE Degree College. In the previous class we were discussing regarding the concept that is internal control. Today I am going to discuss regarding the advantages as well as the disadvantages of this internal control. So already you know what is the meaning of this internal control. It controls whole activities of the organization to minimize the wastages, to minimize the cost. This plays a very important role. So it is internal control is in simple terms it is a whole system of controls. It covers not only internal audit but also internal check and administrative controls, financial controls and all other types of controls which are being established by the management to improve the performance as well as minimize the cost and increase the profitability of the business concern. So let us begin with the merits or advantages. First one is the internal control will protect the assets of the business from misuse, theft, accident. Obviously, if you have a good internal control in your organization, definitely it gives protection to the assets of the business organization and it can be protected from misusing it. It can be protected from any kind of theft as well as any kind of accidents. So basically it provides protection, it safeguards the assets of the business. So this is the merit which you are going to get in internal control. Secondly, it helps to implement the management policies to attain the corporate goals. So here whenever the management has to implement its own policies, it has to attain the corporate goals, the role of internal control is very important. Because as I said you earlier, so this internal control being established just to improve the performance of the organization, organizational staff, and increase the profitability, minimize the cost and look after the facts and information in the books of account. So here what do we see, that it is helping the management in drafting the new policies, and by drafting the new policies the corporate goals can be achieved in a required period. So in this way, this is regarding the second merit or advantage which we are going to get in this internal control. The third one is it helps in detecting all the errors and frauds made in the books of account, obviously. So through internal control system we can easily detect all types of errors, all types of frauds which are being made in the books of account. So this is regarding one more merit or advantage. The next fourth one is it helps to increase the accuracy and reliability of financial statements as well as books of account. So with the help of internal control, it is helpful, it is very much helpful to increase the accuracy as well as the reliability of financial statements and the books of accounts. So through internal control, as I said you earlier, the checking system is involved, various control measures will be taken under considerations, and through that we get the accuracy. Whatever the information we are going to get, we are going to get the accurate information, reliable information concerning the financial statements as well as the books of accounts. So that's why this internal control is very much important in the organization. The fifth one is it helps to regulate the work of staff through division of work in a scientific manner. Obviously, it is very useful. Internal control is very useful to regulate the work of staff. Means the division of work can be made very easy with the help of internal control. The responsibility of the staff can be fixed, right, and that is also fixed in a very scientific manner. So whenever we are going to get the result, we can easily identify who is performing well and who is not, and that is being made possible only through this particular internal control. So it regulates the whole work of the staff through division of work. The next point, it helps the management to prepare and implement effective plans. Obviously, it is helping the management. It is not only helping the management in preparing the various effective plans, but also it is helping in implementing those plans in the nearby future. So this is also one of the merit or advantage which we are going to get in this internal control. And finally, it helps to put moral pressure on staff. So obviously, through internal control, there is a moral pressure on the staff involved, because the staff knows that if I commit any kind of errors or if I commit any kind of frauds, definitely that is being detected during internal control, and I will be held responsible for that particular act, and definitely the management is going to take decision concerning such an act, right? So that's why what happens, the staff knows that, so they try to minimize such kind of errors, and they don't try to do any kind of frauds, and that automatically improves the morality of all the staff. So this is also one of the advantage or merit that we are going to get in this particular internal control. Further, the disadvantages or demerits concerning internal control. The first one is it does not reinforce the value of internal control. So the first main disadvantage is that the culture it does not reinforce the value of internal controls. Okay, so it is just a mechanical system. So here the value, it does not reinforce the value which is needed in the internal control system. So this is the first demerit which we are going to get. The second one is staff carelessness, poor judgment and lack of knowledge. Obviously, the staff is very careless here, because they know that whatever the internal control system they have here in the organization, and it leads to poor judgment, and definitely there will be a lack of knowledge, and this is also one of the demerit or disadvantages of internal control. The next third one is staff taking shortcuts instead of following the procedures. So if you have an internal control system in the organization and the staff is well aware of it, and what they do that instead of following the procedures as mentioned by the management, but what these staff do is that they are following the shortcuts instead of going through in detail procedures. So this is also one of the drawback that we are getting in this internal control. Fourth one is staff failing to recognize or act on unusual transactions. So there are various transactions, day-to-day transactions, many transactions which are being taken place in an organization, but there are some of unusual transactions, and those unusual transactions are being failed to recognize by the staff. Okay, so it is also one of the demerit or disadvantage which we are going under this internal control. The next one is it does not reflect changed operating conditions, specific agency activities or potential new risk. So this is also one of the demerit what we are going to get here. So it do not reflect, it does not give a clear picture concerning changed operating conditions. So day-to-day operating conditions, changes in organization, so that purview has to be given by the internal control, but we do not see any such kind of reflections concerning changed operating conditions, concerning specific agency activities, as well as potential new risk. Day to day we get various kinds of risk based on the changes on the environment, in the environment. So that has to be analyzed and brought to the concern, but this internal control fails to do that. The next one is collusion by staff for personal gain or other motives. So what happens, there will be a collusion in between the staff, what do we say in local language, a fighting in between the staff for personal gain and other motives. So they are working, but they are working not for the sake of organization, but they are working for their own sake, their own motives, their own personal gains. And if such acts are being made, and definitely the performance of the organization will diminish, and this is also one of the drawback or demerit or disadvantage which we are going to get in internal control. There is always a collusion in between the staff. And next one is controls failing to capture unusual transactions. So here the internal controls fail to capture unusual transactions. So already I told you, many transactions the organization is going through, but there are some of unusual transactions that has to be detected by the organization through internal control system, but they remain undetected. So definitely the controls fail here. And finally, the control, that is internal control and processes being viewed as a hindrance in the delivery of agency services. So here the internal control as well as the processes of it being viewed as a hindrance in the delivery of agency services. So in this way, these are the demerits or disadvantages that we are going to get in this particular internal control. So internal control has a positive way and also it has a negative way, but it is better to have an internal control in each and every organization. If it doesn't work 100%, at least it works at least 80 to 90%, and if it works for 80 to 90%, definitely it is good for the organization to achieve its goal in nearby future. So this is regarding the concept which I wanted to discuss today. I hope you got it, and in the next class I shall carry out the next concept. So till then, please do take care and bye.